Are you struggling to stay calm in difficult conversations? You're not alone. I'm going to share with you how to stay calm in a relationship from a CPTSD survivor and yoga teacher. My name's Mandi Gardner. I offer education, skills, and support for women who want to heal trauma driven reactions with practical tools from yoga, DBT skills, or dialectical behavior therapy skills, and support for a peaceful, connected, and confident life. Or subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. I used to also be easily triggered and emotionally overwhelmed. There was this one time when I first moved in with my boyfriend, now husband, where I called him about 10 minutes after he was supposed to be done with work. And he did not answer the phone. And that immediately sent me into a triggered response. My heart rate elevated, my chest got really tight, my breathing got really quick, my mind just started reeling. I had all these really scary ideas coming up in my head. And I began to frantically write a text message. And because of my emotional state that I was in, it was definitely coming across as like accusatory and where the heck are you? And as I am writing this text message in this very emotion mindset, he called me right back. And it was less than 5 minutes before he had called me back. And he said, I'm so sorry, babe. I was at my brother's. I dropped by his house after work and then we were in conversation. And I'm on my way home now and I will see you soon. And he came home and he could tell something was wrong. And so I talked to him about it. So I can completely understand what it is to become emotionally overwhelmed and potentially start doing some sort of behavior like text messaging frantically that could damage the relationship. And what I've learned from DBT skills and also from mindfulness and yoga is to pause and take a breath and use that mindfulness like, okay, he didn't answer the phone, and I'm feeling very nervous, and my chest is getting tight, right? Really trying to identify the sensations that are coming up in your body. It's really important to understand that when you're in your emotion mind, meaning when you're triggered or dysregulated, and there's 5 different kinds. There's emotional dysregulation, where you're crying and sobbing uncontrollably. There's mental dysregulation, where you're reeling inside your mind and your body, you're freaking out, but you're staying what looks like to be fairly calm on the outside. There's also behavioral dysregulation as well as relationship dysregulation and also physiological, where your heart rate increases. The important thing to understand is that when you're triggered or dysregulated and you're in that emotion mind, you are not in your rational thinking mind. In fact, you actually cannot access that part of your brain. And so, knowing that when you're really upset and you're dysregulated, it's that you can't really be in that rational mind. And we also know from experience that those are the times that we say things that we might regret and that are going to cause damage to the relationship. And so pausing and observing, okay, I'm obviously really upset and I need to sit with my breath and breathe for a moment, right? Now, when we get to a more regulated state is when we can enter into our wise mind, where we can use both our emotion mind as well as our rational mind to come into this wise mind perspective when we're approaching these difficult conversations. A tool I want to share with you is called Dear Man. Now, if this is interesting so far, definitely subscribe to the channel so that you can receive yoga, skills, and support. Great. So you can see here we have our Dear Man, and this skill is pulled from DBT. Now, this Dear Man is so effective, and you can use this both in your personal life as well as your professional life. If you struggle to express your needs effectively, then definitely give this a shot. The Dear Man technique is a DBT or dialectical behavior therapy skill used to effectively communicate your needs, set boundaries, and assert yourself without damaging your relationships. Each letter in Dear Man stands for a step in the process. Let's go through it. So I'm going to go through each one and tell you what it is. And then I'm going to go through and give you my personal example of how I use this in real life. So first is D, describe. Clearly and objectively describe the facts of the situation without judgment. E, express. Share your feelings and thoughts about the situation. A, assert or ask. Assertively state or ask for what you need and want and what you're asking for. R, reinforce or reward. Explain the positive outcome if your request is met. So, what will the positive result be if they do what you're asking? And then M, mindful. Do this with mindfulness. Stay focused on your goals and avoid getting sidetracked in the conversation. And also remember the big picture goal of wanting a healthy relationship, that you do want a healthy, supportive relationship with this person. A, appear confident. Use body language and a tone to convey confidence. N, negotiate. Be willing to give a little or find a compromise if necessary. Dear Man helps to build stronger, healthier communication, allowing you to address your needs respectfully and effectively. Now I'm going to give you an example of how I use this in real life. So, a little backstory. The reason I learned DBT skills is because I learned that my mother has what's called borderline personality disorder, also known as emotional dysregulation disorder. And so, in my journey of trying to figure out and understand what that meant and how to have a better relationship with her, I learned DBT. And I learned it from an organization called Family Connections, which is a nonprofit program underneath NEA-BPD, National Education Alliance of Borderline Personality Disorder. Anyway, so I learned it from this program. I took a 12-week course, and it was so impactful in my life that I began to volunteer for the nonprofit organization, and I co-hosted courses teaching these skills. And so I was able to be involved in leadership training where they trained us on these skills. As a CPTSD survivor, I have found these DBT skills to be absolutely transformational, and I like to call them fundamental life skills. Because if we don't grow up with healthy, effective ways of having boundaries and communicating our needs, then, where are we supposed to learn them? So, anyway, Dear Man is such a wonderful tool. So, in my journey of healing, I had decided to move in with my mother. It was back in 2020. And moving in with her, I learned that she had what's called borderline personality disorder, or a nicer term is emotional dysregulation disorder. So, unfortunately, that situation was not very good for us. And so we decided to sell the townhouse. And in that experience, and so, in trying to sell the townhouse, I never went down there because that was her space. But we had decided to sell the townhouse about 2 years after we had purchased it. And I was going to have a realtor come over. Unfortunately, the kitty litter box was overflowing and there was quite a mess, and it was all over the carpet and there was quite a smell. And obviously, that can be a pretty stressful situation. We're about to put the house on the market, and I walk down there and I'm realizing that we have quite a mess to clean up. And so this was a perfect opportunity for me to use Dear Man, because I was obviously really upset about the whole thing. And because I went into all this fear based thinking, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to sell the townhouse and I'm going to be stuck with this crazy lady. Anyway, more on that later. But I wrote it out on a text message because that way I could edit it, right? And that way I didn't get too emotional if I was talking to her in person, because this was a very emotionally triggering time. D, describe. Hey mom, because I Because we're going to be putting the house on the market, I had the realtor do a walkthrough. And so I ended up walking downstairs into your section, and I happened to notice that the kitty litter box was overflowing. Express. So I'm really concerned that this is going to inhibit our ability to sell the townhouse. Assert or ask. I'm wondering if you would be willing to plan and pay for professional carpet cleaning and have a special cleaner for the kitty pee. And then R, reinforce a reward, right? So I think if we were able to get that smell out, that we'd have a much better chance of selling the townhouse. Remembering that this is my mom and I want a positive relationship with her, even though she can do things that can really drive me crazy, right? Appear confident, use body language and a tone of voice. Or in this particular situation, I wrote it on a text message because I really wanted to take out any extra language and I didn't want to get emotional in my tone. So I chose to do a message and then be willing to negotiate, right? So had she maybe come up with a different solution, I would have been open to hearing what she had to say, right? So, anyway, I hope that dear man was super helpful. I hope that you can use it in both your personal life as well as your professional life to be more clear and effective in your communication. So, tell me so far, what was your biggest takeaway? Put it in the comments. If you're interested in learning more, then definitely check out my Daily C.A.L.M Practice Workbook and video series. It's a low cost product, it's $22. It's only $22 and it gives you a wealth of information. There's 4 videos and it's almost an hour. And it really dives deep into the different DBT skills that will really help you with clear communication and setting healthy boundaries. And then it also walks you through the daily calm practice, which helps you to establish healing daily rituals for freedom and success. It also shares with you the Daily Calm Practice Workbook, which gives you my experiential proprietary method, which teaches you how to heal trauma driven reactions with practical tools from yoga, DBT skills, and support for a peaceful, connected, and confident life. Don't forget to grab that workbook, and I'll put the link below. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.